I was just sitting here looking at all of these people and thinking to myself, how amazing is it that every single one of them is a songwriter in their own right, and that we have so much creativity at this center, so much things that are new. So I thought that this song today was the perfect song, perfect analogy for what we're doing in 2016. You know, our theme this year is Time to be Seen in 2016. Let's all say that.
Time to be seen in 2016.
So the analogy of the butterfly is a really, really cool analogy. First, I want to just tell you this little moment I had when I arrived at the theater today. I was coming up the alley, and someone was standing a little bit past Starbucks, like looking up at the poster that just landed on the side of the building yesterday. And how many of you saw that poster walking in today? You won't miss it going out. So it's a big picture of me. It's fabulous. It's a big picture of me having a tea party with a bunch of dolls. And, you know, obviously I posed for the picture. I was there when it was taken. So, but I will be honest, it didn't occur to me how I was going to feel when it showed up on the building. And last night we had a full day's rehearsal for my show that will open in a couple of weeks. And we rehearsed all day, and I didn't leave the building until like 10 o'clock. And we left the building, and I'm walking out to the car, and I turned around, and it wasn't supposed to go up till tomorrow. I turned around, and I was like, ah! And Kevin was like, what? I said, when did that go up? He said, yesterday. And I just stood there. He went, are you okay? I went, I don't know. And I just stood there, and I was like, wow, okay, so I picked my word. Did y'all pick your word for 2016? Yeah, so you all know what your word is. If you don't, if you're new today, we all picked a word that informed our year. Some word that activated us, motivated us. And my word was daring. I can't think of anything more daring than to put me on the side of a building having a tea party with a bunch of dolls. And I got an email from someone late last night before I went to bed. And they wrote me this email and said, I'm confused by this title of your play because you are like the last person I would think of as a sissy. She doesn't know me, clearly. But it was an interesting moment. It really was an interesting moment for me. So this morning when I came to the building and I was going up the side of the building, someone was standing there and they just pointed up to my thing and I was like, and then they pointed to me, I went, and they went, and turned and walked away. So, this whole concept of a butterfly, what you morph into. I pulled some quotes today that I want to read for you all. But the first thing I want to talk about is what precedes the butterfly, which is a caterpillar. So, I love the idea that all of us may have been caterpillars up until 2016. That we were in our chrysalises. Just practicing being a sissy, sorry. We were in our chrysalis place. There's a lot of S's in that. And we were going to our next destination. We were morphing into something else. We spent our whole lives morphing into something else. Now, the caterpillar is a little bit of an unsung hero, isn't it? I mean, caterpillars are rarely seen. I don't see that many caterpillars in my normal day. I don't. I see a lot of butterflies. I do. I'm a magnet for butterflies. They just tend to, like, circle me whenever I'm out in a garden. Maybe that's because I'm a butterfly. And you are a butterfly. We're all butterflies. So this caterpillar, I'm trying to figure this out as I go here. So this caterpillar is constantly doing all the work necessary for the butterfly to emerge. And then it goes into its cocoon, and then it just waits. Now, the thing is, while it's in this cocoon, what's happening? Is anything happening? Oh my God, everything is happening. Everything is happening. And is the caterpillar doing anything to make that happen? No. Not really. I do not think a caterpillar creates this cocoon around itself and then said, all right, now here's what I need you to do. Like we do. Here's what I need to happen. Oh, I should have taken that workshop on how to build the best butterfly. No, the caterpillar doesn't do that. It just allows that perfect divine creativity to move through it. And then, and this is the really big part, then when they're born, there's a lot for that caterpillar, now butterfly, to do. Now the butterfly, when it emerges, is kind of like, if let's just say we're in rehearsal our whole life, the caterpillar turns into this performance art piece, right? It just comes out and it's just magnificent, but not right away. So when we say time to be seen in 2016, I think we need to get real clear on that moment that happens between the caterpillar breaking free as a butterfly from the chrysalis and what happens in those next few hours. Because I think many of us may be in those next few hours. And a lot of people get stuck there and don't understand that that's literally the journey. That's the journey. The journey is not, I am a butterfly. The journey is that which takes me to being a butterfly. So I have a few things to tell you about the butterfly. When the butterfly is first born, it doesn't have its mouth in shape. It has two parts of a mouth that aren't together yet. Did you all know that? No. I didn't know that either. Could you imagine if your mouth came in two parts? And you couldn't chew, talk, do anything until you put your mouth together. And that's what the butterfly has to do. In its first few minutes of its life, it has to work its jaw so much that it lets that those two things come together and give it the little flute it's going to have, which is its mouth, so that it can drink liquid, which is all it eats, liquid. The only thing the caterpillar eats is solid. So it moves from solid, the plane of the relative facts and things, into the fluid. That which already is. That which just is right there available. The evaporated nothingness from which it came, right there available to it. So, but first it has to really work to do that. The second thing it has to do, its wings don't just suddenly come out and look like it just landed in an opera. Its wings need to be pumped up. From inside, the butterfly needs to pump all of its fluid into the veins that are these wings in order for the wings to unravel and literally turn into the wings that it will use. Now, I just want you to think about that metaphorically. For each one of us, as we are growing into our perfect butterfly status, when we use our mind, we are pumping energy into this universe. When we use our minds properly and on purpose, we are literally pumping all of that creative energy into our own beingness and pumping ourselves up. When we do spiritual mind treatment and we know the truth, and I remember who I am, and I know this about this, and I know the truth about this, what does it do? It literally unfurls you and allows you to be ready to, as Heather's song so beautifully says, soar. So that's the second thing it does. Now, the third thing it does is it drinks from the mud. Have you ever seen a butterfly sitting in a mud puddle? Has anybody ever seen that? I have. Where they just, they look like something's wrong. Why are they sitting in a mud puddle? Oh my, no. That mud puddle gives them the vitamins and the minerals for them to be able to propagate. So the vitamin, most of the time you're going to see a dude in the puddle, not a girl. The girls fly overhead, I think. So the dudes are in the puddles, and they're pulling out all the minerals and all the vitamins and everything they need so that their propagation materials work well. Right? So now here's the thing about that I loved. How many times have you landed in the mud? Anybody else besides me? How many times have we landed in the mud of our lives? Anybody have any mud going on right now? Some mud in our lives. So the butterfly's job, the butterfly is like, I love the mud. This is where I get all my stuff. So why not, for us, when we land in the mud, instead of saying, oh my God, I am in the mud, and then going through this diatribe of how did I get here? And then spending the next 2 weeks in the mud figuring out how I got here. Which, who cares how I got here? Just don't do it again. Instead, being in the mud and saying to ourselves, what's here for me to eat on? eat on? What is here for me to feed on? What's here to enrich in my life? What is here to bring me to the next generation of truth? So that was number 3. And then the fourth thing is that as the butterfly in its first 2 weeks starts to fly, its wings become transparent. It's not at first. It's got a lot of fluid on it. It's got a lot of stuff on it, which I don't really know all the scientific terms. But it becomes transparent, meaning that the butterfly instinctively knows to allow things to flow through it. That the only way it's going to really fly and use this energy of life, this air, to soar is to let go of everything and be transparent. So, are we willing to be transparent? So, the title of my talk today is Head On. Head On. And I missed one other thing. The butterfly cannot fly if they're cold. The butterfly cannot fly if it's cold. And how I liken that to us, it's very difficult to really fly in our lives if we don't have passion. As Ernest Holmes calls it, the fire of the belly. If we do not have that passion in our lives, the excitement for our lives, in the metaphor of the butterfly, it would be hard for you to fly if you didn't have passion. And isn't that the truth? We just end up being this crawling caterpillar, going through our day, doing our business, working, but we're not hot. We're not hot. We're not literally, like bubbling over with enthusiasm and passion. So this year is really our year to be seen, but not only to be seen, but to actually know what we're seeing. And what are people seeing? What is everybody else seeing? So the title is Head On. Are you ready to live your life head on? So I was in Kauai, and it's funny, I've never had a talk title so early. I actually texted it to Connie on Sunday, I think, and she was like in shock that I had a talk title for her on a Sunday. But here's what happened. We were at the dam, some dam, and it was just gorgeous. And we were going to the waterfall, a waterfall dam. Remember that dam? Stone Dam. And I was up on the path, and I saw this rock that I wanted to go sit on. And it had been raining, and it was very muddy. And I thought to myself, it might not be a smart thing for me to climb down this muddy hill to get to that rock. But I really wanted to be at that rock, which was at the foot of the dam, and the water was coming down. And all of a sudden, I just thought, I really need to hit this head on. And I went, oh, head on. I texted Connie and thought, that's really what I want to talk about, because it really is the way I live my life. If I'm going to be daring, I cannot stand on the trail and say, I'd love to be over there, but I don't think I should. It's like, there's the rock, go to it. I'm a big boy. I can climb down the side of a muddy hill and not fall. And I did. Now, did I slip? Yes. Did I have to be very careful? Did I have to be very precise with my steps? Did I have to be very precise with the way I was using my mind? Yes. Thomas Troward says that it is very important, the order of which we think, the order of how our thoughts work, the order of our consciousness. Do we put our thoughts in the right order that it brings the demonstration we want? Meaning, do I say yes, 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 and then throw in a little no? Because that doesn't fit in the order. Or do I say yes, 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 I'm afraid? That doesn't fit in the order. Now, that doesn't mean it won't show up, but deal with it. Don't do yes, 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 I'm afraid, keep going, I fell. Because our job is to pay attention to what's going on in our mind. So I climbed down, and I sat on that rock. And this is the funny part. As I sat on the rock, and I had this beautiful little meditation, and then they rang the gong, saying, everybody come back now. I turned around, and I looked up the hill, and I went, going down was pretty easy. Climbing back up, maybe a little bit of a difficulty. So my feet got all muddy, and I got all dirty, and if I were a butterfly, I'd be getting ready to mate. So I'm climbing up the hill, and I've got mud on my hands, and my pants are now muddy and everything. And when I got back to where everybody was, Rita looked at me, and she said, this was supposed to be a calm meditation. What were you doing? And I said, well, I was meditating in between climbing up rocks and stuff. So the whole concept here is, are we willing to attack life heads on? Are we willing to spend our lives daring enough with such enthusiasm that we can be transparent enough to put ourselves on the side of a building and say to ourselves, I did that? Because guess what? I didn't hang it up there, but I put it up there. My creativity put it up there. And do I feel vulnerable right now? Yeah, I feel really vulnerable right now. I think I'm going to walk through this whole neighborhood and everyone's going to point to me. And that's okay. It's okay. It's amazing. When you pick a word and decide to live it, isn't it amazing how it just comes back to bite you in the butt? In a good way? That just keeps pushing you and moving you to live life from heads on, to live life from a daring state of consciousness, to live life transparently, and to live life, even if you're in the mud, by recognizing what it is. So, my next question for you is this. How will you use your mind this year? How will you use your mind? Let's just say we have all just popped out of the chrysalis. We have some work to do. We have some forward momentum to push ourselves through. Your mind is the pump that is going to inflate your wings. Your mind is the very energy that is going to bring your mouth together, meaning bring what you want to say together. Your mind is what you are going to use to gather the enthusiasm of the universe and start using it all by yourself. Your mind, your mind, your mind. So, William James wrote this. A great many people may think that they are thinking when they are merely rearranging their thoughts. I'll wait for you to get that. A great many people may think that they are thinking when they are merely rearranging their thoughts. You know, it was interesting when Heather was singing and she said it's time to let go of the past, and I thought Reverend Nancy was going to, elevate out of her chair because she just went, yes! Rearranging our thoughts. If you are thinking in 2016 the same way you were thinking in 2015, then you're just rearranging your thoughts. Because there's more to know. There's more to be. There's more to do. There's more to have. There's more to receive. I love when Heather was singing her song because she sat there and was so clear. When she looked at me and she was singing her lyrics, it's time to get out of our minds and into our hearts. This science is not this cold, cerebral, intellectual science, the science of mind. I don't know what ever prompted them to take away the real title that Ernest Holmes wrote, which was The Science of Mind and Spirit. I have no idea why we had to lose spirit. Because frankly, without spirit, there is no mind. Without heart, there is nothing to think about. So, the question I have for you is, how are you going to use your mind this year? Are you just going to keep rearranging your thoughts? Or are you going to think new thoughts? And not just think any old new thoughts. Are you going to think new thoughts that come from that place inside of you that has a wellspring, an infinite amount of knowledge and wisdom, stuff that we haven't even tapped into yet? Are you willing to be seen in 2016 in a whole new, amazing, unique way? Because one of the questions is, are you also willing to see in 2016 what you need to see? So when I say willing to be seen, I'm also saying I am willing to see what I need to look at. Are you willing to see what you need to look at? Because as Dr. Walker used to say, all God's chillin' got things to look at. So what do you have to look at? Don't be afraid to see it. Don't turn a blind eye away from those thoughts that are interrupting the order of how your life is going to unfold magnificently. It will always unfold perfectly. But at what level do you want to live it at? At what level do you want to fly at? Ralph Waldo Emerson says, we are always getting ready to live, but we're never living. We're always getting ready to live, but never living. I have heard so many times people say to me, I can't wait for, or I am going to. How many of you have heard yourself say that? I am going to do this. I'm going to do this. As soon as this happens, I'm going to do this. And yet, right here, right where you are, right now, right in this moment, you don't have to wait to do anything. And if you think you have some obstacles or some things that are literally holding you in place that you have to wait to resolve before you can blah, 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 then you are basically just rearranging your thoughts. It really is time for new thoughts. And it's time to really go head on with this being seen. So as I close up here, I just want to ask you to really give some thought to the first question, which is, are you willing to go heads on into your mind and use your mind in a way that brings you what you want to live? Are you willing to not only be seen, but are you willing to see what you need to see? And that means if you happen to be in the mud, you see what there is to get out of that mud. You don't just spend all of your energy trying to get out of the mud. Just hang there. Find out, what is it I need to see here? Because I guarantee you, if you use all your energy to get out of that mud, you will ultimately someday find yourself back in that mud asking the same friggin' question. Why not answer it now? Why not be willing to hit it heads on, see what there is to see, answer it now, know what there is to know, move on? Because here's what happens. After that butterfly gets everything it gets out of the mud, it flies to the highest point in its flying evolution. Right after that moment. It has the capacity, after that moment in the mud, to fly higher than it's ever flown before. And it's just an instinctual thing. It gets what it needs to get out of the mud, and then just out of nowhere, it just goes zoom! Now, wouldn't you, everybody, let's try that. Let's try that. I want everybody to try that. Ready? Okay, so you're in the mud, and now you're ready to go, and then all of a sudden you're full up, and I really wish you could be where I am sometimes. Really. Now, some of you weren't zooming very high, just to be clear, so I'm going to do it one more time. So we're in, and you're like, oh, really? So we're in the mud, right? First of all, wait, before you zoom, bring your mud forward in your head. Don't tell me, I don't need to know it. I got my own mud, you deal with yours. So bring your mud forward. What is it? What do you need to think about? What's the mud of your life, right? There you are. Now just know with me that in that mud, there is something amazing for you to have. Amazing vitality, amazing minerals, amazing protein. All the great energy of your life is stored right there in that mud. And you have taken it in, and you have taken it in, and you've allowed it, and you have let the divine in you guide you through that beautiful process. You haven't run away. You've hit it heads on. You've said, here I am. Use me. Do me exactly who I am to be done. And then I allow it all to happen. And then evolution just takes over, and all of a sudden, here we go, get ready. And all of a sudden, we are just ready to go. Look, you got a light on you all of a sudden. And then we... Awesome. Yeah, did you want them to be lit up there, Mark? That was very clever. Is that like bizarre? That was not planned. We always put the new people there, and then we shine a light on them. It's so funny. You didn't see it. But just as we were zooming, this light lit up that aisle, and they're all like, what? Ready to zoom. So I'm going to say thank you to Heather Powers for bringing that song. Right? Woo! And I also want to say that we have a lot more in common with the butterfly than we know. And I also want to say, let's just really intend ourselves to know that we have emerged from that chrysalis. And that there are things to do, but they're natural. The process is natural. Whatever you're going through, you've had many, 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 many years to bring yourself to this moment in time. So let yourself do what needs to be done, just like nature always does. And then really allow yourself to zoom when it's time, to fill yourself up from the truth of everything that's going on in your life. I love that Nancy brought up something so personal to her from her life and acknowledged that there's still some healing to do there. I think we've all got some healing to do in places maybe we aren't even aware of from the past. So, here we are, 2016. Are we ready to think new thoughts? Are we ready to stop just reverberating everything we've been thinking, but tap into something new? That's what I'm about. I want to know what more is there to know. As Ernest Holmes said, if you are still studying what I taught in the 1950s, you've missed the point. So, let's find the new. Let's find what more there is to know. Let's find this wisdom. Let's find this knowledge. Because you know where we're going to find it? Right here. So just allow yourself to let life live you, and then trust that when the moment's exactly right, you are going to zoom to the highest peak you've ever been to. And then you'll just be starting. Namaste.